Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to an It's All Over edition of Driving with Mr. Met. Yes, it is all over. The 2017 season has come to an end. The Mets dropped the 162nd game of the year to the Phillies by a score of 11-0. Wishful thinking that the Mets scored a run yesterday. But the bottom line is the season's over. And it's been a while since I've been on here and recorded a video, and I want to chat about what's going on in the last week and what's coming up in the weeks ahead. So I was out of town last week. That's why I didn't record a video last week. And before I go into any detail about anything that's happened in Mets world, I want to talk really briefly about what's happening in the real world, and I want to send my deepest condolences and sympathies to the families and friends and loved ones of those who were affected by this shooting in Las Vegas. And I don't talk about anything other than Mets on here, and I'm not going to start doing that today, but I just wanted to address that because that's an absolutely real situation that is far more important than baseball will ever be. But for the sake of what I do on here, I'm going to shift gears and go back to talking about the Mets. So again, I was out of town last week, and I was actually in New York for the week. And that was kind of cool because I was able to go and participate in the last game of the year and watch the Mets play the Washington Nationals Wednesday night. I got to sit with the 7-line Army, have my pin on my hat. It was a lot of fun. But it was so long ago, and I really wanted to record a video of the day after. I had a rental car that didn't have a good setup for me to hook up my phone, so wasn't able to do that. And keeping with the theme of driving with Mr. Met, if I'm not driving, I don't really think I should be recording a video. I don't know, maybe I should. Maybe that's something that I should leave open for those of you who do watch to share your thoughts on. Maybe I should be recording videos from someplace other than my car, and I'll have to call this something different. But that's neither here nor there. A couple of other things, of course, happened in Mets world since the last time I talked with you guys. Terry Collins officially announced his departure from the organization, at least as the manager. He will not be back next year, and I have mixed feelings about it. As you know, I haven't held back my support for Terry Collins. I've long thought that he was a very good manager. He was the longest tenured manager in Mets franchise history. For 7 years, he captained the ship. And, no one's ever accused him of being a good in-game tactician. And that's never was going to be something he was really great at, was never a strong suit. But it was interesting listening to how he talked yesterday on the radio. He talked about how Terry Collins' players never quit on him. And I think that's the legacy that we have to remember for Terry Collins. The fact that he was brought in here in what was supposed to be a rebuilding type role, where he was going to oversee the transition of sort of the previous regime's veterans, walking out the door, and the new regime's rookies coming in. And no matter what you say, that's something that Terry did incredibly well. So much so that when the time came for him to be replaced, there was no consideration that he would be replaced. He did such a good job keeping the team motivated and getting the team prepared, at least in the early parts of his tenure as manager. Toward the end, and the story that Mark Carig wrote last week, I wasn't a fan of the story. I don't like the anonymous source thing, and I especially don't like it when it's a player. I was really upset. I was kind of pissed at Carig for writing that story and doing so the way he did. But I understand, and he defended himself on the radio broadcast on Saturday. And he flat out said, look, I got to do my job. My job is to report the news, and this is news. And he's not wrong. And I think I was most upset because I thought it was a very anti-Terry Collins piece, but it turned out it really wasn't. When you go back and look at it, it's a condemnation of the entire organization from top to bottom. And I don't know which is better or worse, but it doesn't single out Terry Collins. It does bring attention to the fact that at least over the last year or so, Terry's been ignoring the wishes of the front office and hasn't been following the advice that they've been giving about metrics and statistics and player evaluations and who should be playing here or where or the other place. And again, it's water under the bridge now. My bigger concern is that this story paints the organization as a completely dysfunctional group. And, you know, they're heading into an off-season now where they're going to need to be acquiring free agents. And I'm concerned about a free agent who looks at the shenanigans here and is like, why the hell would I want to sign with that team? And that's my, for me, that's my biggest concern, looking at the Mets and looking at what happened with that story and what the ripple effects are going to be of it. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it doesn't thwart a player from coming here, and I hope that the Wilpons are willing to open up their wallets again and spend to bring in some talent. A couple of other points I want to make really quickly about what happened in the last week. The Mets catching situation seems to have cleared itself up a little bit. You know, catcher's a position where you can't really do much to improve because there's just not that much out there in terms of quality free agents and quality players. And what the Mets have done over the last 5 or 6 weeks, maybe a little less than that, but what they've done is they've set up a pretty much straight platoon. One day Darno, one day Plawecki, and those two have done really well, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. They've done above average production for a catcher. So that's kind of a silver lining. That's a little bit of good news as we head into 2018. I think that the most important piece of good news, and it may be superficial because it was really just 3 innings, but Noah Syndergaard made 2 starts, and again, I said it was only 3 innings. It wasn't a ton of time that he spent on the mound, but he looks like he's in 100% health, and that's, for me, that's the most important piece here. That Noah goes into 2018 knowing that, you know, he's got a clean bill of health and he can focus on the off season and getting ready for next year. I could go on and on. I've got a few other things I want to talk about, but I don't want this to be a 15-minute video. I'm going to be out of town again this week, so this will probably be the only video I share this week. The playoffs start tomorrow, so we'll see how that shakes out. I do want to come back on. It'll probably be Saturday that I'll record something, and by that point in time, a couple of teams will be eliminated. At least 2 will be eliminated, and we'll see what happens with the NLDS games at that point. But I do want to come back on Saturday with some thoughts about the playoffs. I'll give you a hint. I'm rooting for the American League, so you'll have to guess which team in the American League I'm rooting for, and it's not the one that you're thinking. I don't think it's not the one with ties to the Mets. So I'll leave it at that. So that's going to wrap it up for today. I thank you guys for watching these videos all season. It's been very fun for me to do this. It's been very cathartic for me to do this and get a lot of the shit that's on my chest off my chest, and just kind of spitball some ideas. It's been fun to interact with you guys on YouTube. It's been fun to interact on Twitter. Speaking of which, if you're not already doing so, please follow me there at Mr_Met. That's MISTER_MET. So, wasn't the best inaugural season for me to kick off this video blog, but hopefully 2018 will be better. And as I said, I'll be back during the off season to talk more Mets baseball and get us ready for the hot stove. So thanks again for watching, and as always, even though the year is over, let's go Mets.